Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about sonata expositions. Now if you remember, a sonata has three major parts: the exposition, the development, and the recapitulation. And the exposition generally has two theme areas. So we're going to take a deeper dive into what makes an exposition work. And you can see up on the screen in front of you I have a lot of scary looking abbreviations: the EEC, the PTZ, the STZ, CZZT. So what these mean, I'll tell you what these mean. The EEC is the essential expositional closure that goes with the last perfect authentic cadence of the secondary theme zone. The PTZ is a primary theme zone, the STZ, secondary theme zone, the MC, the medial caesura, the TZ, the transition zone, and the CZ, the closing zone. So not every sonata is going to have a closing zone, but quite a few of them do. So let's listen to this and see if we can figure things out. What we're going to be listening for specifically are big, perfect authentic cadences, because those are usually going to mark the ends of sections. So take a listen. Okay, so composers usually give us a pretty good idea, at least in the high classical period, of where the exposition ends, because they put a repeat sign there so that the audience could have another time to listen through the main themes so they'd understand all the cool stuff that was happening in the development. So let's go through this and see if we can figure out, seasick, see if you can figure out where the perfect authentic cadences were. So a lot of the time composers will give it away, especially the EEC and later on the ESC, with a big trill that leads us into that perfect authentic cadence. So here we have something that could have been a PAC, but the composer here has used a 6th chord instead to sort of throw us off the track and keep the music going. Instead, here with the trill, we have our first PAC. So if we went back into the this first material again, which I think we can agree is not just introductory, it's actually a theme. If we went back into that theme, then maybe the primary theme zone didn't end there. But as you can see, we start to introduce accidentals pretty quickly in here. We are heading towards G major, which we'd expect. So since our primary theme zone is going to be in C major, we'd expect to go to the dominant for the secondary theme zone, or if we were in minor, to the relative major. That's the first level default. A first level default is just a composer doing the thing that we most expect them to do. So not very often. Okay, so let's see. Are there any other perfect authentic cadences anywhere? What about this one? Was this a PAC down here? No, this was a half cadence, right? I assume you said yes. So that's half cadence, stopping the music is what we're looking for when we're looking for the medial caesura. So usually big half cadence in the key of the dominant that leads us into the secondary theme zone. Sometimes it's a little harder to spot than others. This one's pretty obvious because we come to a full stop, and then we just have this little thing. What we're going to call this is a caesura fill. That means that our secondary theme zone is going to start right after it with our itsy bitsy spider. So I'll put the primary theme zone there too. So the primary theme zone is going to end when we have this perfect authentic cadence, because this stuff that comes after it is clearly moving us into G major, and so we're going to call it the transition zone. I guess I'm going to put that in the middle. Okay. So far, primary theme zone ends with the perfect authentic cadence. Transition zone takes us to the new key, ends with this half cadence, this medial caesura down here, and then we have the caesura fill that takes us into the secondary theme zone. Now we have two more to deal with. We have the essential expositional closure, the EEC, and the CZ, the closing zone. So what we're looking for is the first real perfect authentic cadence that ends this secondary theme zone. Now it's important that it's a perfect authentic cadence that's not followed by the same material. It's a perfect authentic cadence that ends it and moves us on to something else. So let's listen and see if we can figure out where that is. So we had a point where it could have been, right? This sort of, it's a little bit of a weak one, but it could have been a perfect authentic cadence if you squinted really hard. But the material, the thematic material keeps on going, right? So that's not the end of our secondary theme zone. This one, not a perfect authentic cadence. Let's keep going. Again, we have this moment where we have what looks like it maybe could be a perfect authentic cadence, big D in the bass going to a G, but the same material keeps going. So again, not essential expositional closure. An IAC. Oh, here comes the telltale trill. Okay, so that's a big PAC there, right? Put a PAC. And then the stuff that comes after that is not related to the secondary theme zone material. It is something new. It is the wheels on the bus. So at that PAC that ends that secondary theme zone, we have to have the essential expositional closure. And then this stuff that follows that starts the closing zone. And that's it, really. You could have a little codetta on the end. I don't think that this little cadential figure counts as a codetta. But if you had the closing zone and that felt like it ended and you had just a little bit more stuff that was just closing up the exposition, could call that a codetta. If you had material that specifically led you back to the key of the tonic, so C major, you would call that a retransition. I'm going to worry more about that when we talk about the development. But really that's it. So when we're looking at sonata expositions, I would first look for the medial caesura because it's pretty obvious to spot, and that will tell you roughly where the secondary theme zone starts. Then go back to the beginning, look for the primary theme zone, look for the perfect authentic cadence that ends that material. That's going to start our transition zone. And then for the EEC, we're going to look for the perfect authentic cadence that ends the secondary theme zone material. And if that's the end of the exposition, great. If not, there's a little closing zone after it, or possibly a codetta, just a little bit of extra music. So that's all there is.